Hey guys, it's takasta here again. Welcome to another video review. So today I'll be reviewing the Mionix Avior 7000 gaming mouse. So this is alongside their new NOS 7000 gaming mouse. It's been out for like 6 to 9 months, but I just got my hands on it and now I'm doing a review. So the price point is priced at $80 US, 80 Euro dollars. So 80 euros. So I mean, for the price point, it is slightly more on the expensive side. However, for the build quality and the what you're getting from the mouse, the firmware, the software, the sensor performance, I think it's not a bargain, but it's a fairly solid price. I think an offering from Mionix. In terms of the specifications, again, uses ARM switches, and basically same as the NOS. ARM switches, 7K DPI, Pixar 3310 sensor, really only 5K DPI, soft touch rubber coating, 7 programmable buttons, 3 in-game steps, and the 32-bit kilobit ARM processing, I think. The usual braided cable, gold plated, etc, etc, etc. So on to the weight. The weight of this mouse is not extremely light. It's definitely heavier than Akana V2. I have Akana V2 right here. So it is weighted at 100 grams. So for an ambidextrous mouse, in terms of the size and offering, it is more heavy. I think for people who like doing more mobile gaming or Dota 2, for example, that I play, I think it's a bit on the heavier side. I do like a slightly lighter mouse. However, the heaviness, the weight of it does add to the build quality or the feel of the build quality, which is quite nice. In terms of the weight, it is 100 grams without the cable, 146 grams with the cable. And in terms of the dimensions, they're 125 millimeters by 65 millimeters by 36 millimeters. So it is not an extremely big mouse, but it is larger than, for example, Akana V2 because of the height profile. And I'm going to talk about the shape now. It does feel slightly on the larger side of things, almost like a Xi, for example. In terms of the shape, it is an ambidextrous mouse, so you can use it with your right hand or your left hand. And in terms of the side buttons, how it works is like the mouse actually curves in. So it's like a V is like this, it actually curves like this inwards. Whereas on the top, on the front, it actually like curves out, but actually on the bottom, it curves in. So your fingers actually in the front grip a lot more forward, and on the back, what happens is like the base, if you can see right here, is actually quite fat. So even though it's curved on the top, it curves like this. On the bottom, however, it curves back out like a fat base. If you can see like right here. So what happens is it does make for a very, very fat base, which it's not as comfortable, I think, as the Akana V2, which is somewhere of a not as an aggressive base or aggressive butt, I guess. But with the Avior 7000, the butt is slightly more aggressive. So what in turn this means is that when I try and grip the mouse, I'm trying to like move the mouse like this, it does slip from the bottom of my palm a little bit. My hand is 19 centimeters from the tip to the base, and I think personally I would prefer the NOS 7000 over this mouse because of the base and how it kind of like slips from my palm. So that is in terms of the shape. In terms of build quality, again, exactly the same as the NOS 7000. I don't have it plugged in right now, but it's extremely nice. The soft rubber coating, the rubber texture, it is very, very soft on the skins and does not feel icky, does not feel like a blackboard like the Rival would. So I would definitely prefer this surface over the Rival by a huge amount. So I would applaud Mionix for just making a very, very solid product. I really agree that it's quite nice, I guess, in that sense. Moving on to the scroll wheel. So the scroll wheel, it is fairly placed front on the mouse. So what that means is you don't have to like curve up your middle finger as much, so you can lay your first and second finger, your middle finger up on top, and you just have to move your finger a little bit. Whereas if you see on the Akana V2 here, you have to move your finger a little bit backwards to use the scroll wheel and put your middle finger back again. However, with the Mionix, you just move a little bit, use it, and then game, fire, or whatever, and just move it back. So if you don't like to move your fingers too much, this is actually quite nice in terms of the grip and etc. like that. In terms of the scroll wheel, if you haven't watched my NOS video, it is very light. It's good for when you scroll like 3-4 steps at a time, and it's really easy. However, if you scroll anything more than that, it is become hard to control. So that is what the scroll wheel. In terms of switches, it does use ARM switches. I think it's rated for 10 million. In terms of switches, it is a little bit different to the NOS actually. The NOS switches actually feel a little bit lighter, and these actually feel a little bit harder to press, kind of like the Huano, kind of like the Zoe FK in fact. However, it's not as hard that is because they are ARM switches, but it's just something to note. They're still quite light, but it just like has like a nicer, crisper click, I guess, because there's that a little bit more attention. I guess somehow it's built into the chassis, but that's just their implementation of the Omron switches. Moving on to the firmware. So the firmware is exactly the same as the NOS 7000. It comes with basically everything from profile switching. There's 3 DPI settings that you can set. 16.8 million bytes, macros, and all that bunch. So absolutely, the firmware interface, as you can see right here, basically it's pretty standard. It's become pretty standard in most mice. However, it does look pretty, and that's absolutely good, I guess. You can adjust the angle snapping, you can adjust the lift-off distance and the analyzer, so you don't have to be worrying about like a kind of a tape trick, which is really nice. Like, I just really appreciate that about the new sensor. With the older 3090 sensor, you couldn't adjust the LOD. However, with like, you can adjust the LOD with the 9500 laser sensor, 9800 laser sensor. So these are one of the first sensors that you can adjust the LOD for optical mice. So that's actually quite nice, and I commend them for that. Moving on to the sensor performance. So if you haven't watched my NOS 7000 video, sensor performance is exactly like that. It's the new PixelArt 3310 sensor. They say it goes up to 7K, however, it is only rated for 5K. So anything above 5K, it is interpolated up. So they are not native DPI steps, so I would recommend using anything from 5K or below. In terms of the performance, again, it's very, very smooth, no hardware acceleration, positive or negative. They claim, I think, it's like no smoothing. Oh no, they don't claim smoothing. Sorry, that was the G502. My bad. But then just the overall responsiveness is extremely good. Just compared to the 3090, I feel like it's just much smoother. I wouldn't say more responsive, but it's just a much smoother feeling. The input lag, they did implement a little bit of smoothing, but to most people, you really wouldn't notice the difference. I couldn't really notice that big of a difference, but I can say that it's just a much nicer, smoother usage, in fact. When you're using 400, 800 DPI, or maybe 1200 DPI, in terms of the smaller movement, they just feel like much smoother, and they don't jitter, which is, or at a very, very slow speed. So that's definitely a very, very big plus. So in terms of the sensor performance, I really, really applaud. So in conclusion, is this mouse worth the money? Well, I think for $80 in terms of the ambidextrous offering and the build quality that you're getting from this mouse, I think it's quite good. It is a fairly large mouse, so if you like the Zai, the Sensei, for example, for ambidextrous feeling, this would be quite nice. Even though I am not too big of a fan of the butt, but some people might like it. In fact, this mouse, you can palm grip it and claw grip it at the same time. It does use the better 3310 PixelArt sensor, an upgrade from the older 3090 ambidextrous offerings. So definitely this is a good offering, and if you're looking for an ambidextrous office, I could recommend this. However, if you don't like the fact that maybe the butt is a little bit fat or is a bit rounded at the end, you might not like this as much. So hope you guys like this video review, and I'll be reviewing the Nash 20 headset next. So thanks for watching, guys.